What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of TokNews with Michael and I. We are going to chat about two main things today, and maybe some other stuff if we have time towards the end of the episode. We'll see. We're recording this on a different day because I'm traveling tomorrow, so we kind of squeeze this into our schedules today. So really today, kind of building on some of the ban talk. We've done a few episodes talking about kind of nationwide ban and some of that stuff. That's obviously tapered down a little bit, and we can even talk about like that, just how fleeting. And I've had some fun conversations with buddies of mine, some big people in the industry who are like really on the TikTok ban like every day, like it's guaranteed it's gonna happen. And like I talked to them like the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I was really on that. It seems like nobody's talking about it anymore." So we can talk about like that whole thing, but seems like the next trend is individual states. So Montana looks to be the first state that's going to ban the app, which is a whole bag of worms and very, very interesting. And we'll talk about how that'll play out. And then talking about some updates to TikTok's Pulse program, which is started as a program last year for top creators, top 4% of creators to get basically half, basically 50% of ad revenue for kind of premium placements around their videos. And now they're expanding this program to other big publishers. So it's a interesting program. We'll talk about kind of whether we think it has legs, or we think it's going to kind of flop, which again, not everything's going to hit. A lot of things are going to flop. And yeah, so let's start with the Montana thing. I think part of me thinks this is probably, it could also be just like a PR stunt for the state of Montana to get some attention. Cause I don't think anybody talks about the state of Montana ever. This is literally the most time I've seen the word Montana mentioned in any major news outlet, this often. And so I don't know if they're just as a state, there's like, we need to get some, we get some tourism going, get some people coming here. So we're going to appeal to people that just hate big tech and don't like technology, and they'll all migrate there, and then we'll just lose all these youngsters who we hate in our state. But curious what your thoughts are overall on this idea to kind of ban apps and make bans at like a local level instead of a federal level.
I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. I think, if it's local level, I don't think they really have the tech infrastructure in place to even enforce it. There's like most of the things I've read, both who are in favor of the ban and non-favor of the ban, were just like, but how does this work? Like, how are you actually going to do this? Because, even if they took it away from the App Store, which I believe Google and Apple said like they can't churn off like state downloads. Like it just doesn't work like that. But if they did, you just fire up a VPN and that's it. A lot of phones have it built in now. Most web browsers have free VPNs built in. So it's really not, I think, a smart way to go about it. It's just not enforceable. One thing I think that's
Yeah.
very, very interesting, and I can't remember if it was this state or not. I'm pretty sure it was, but thought it was ironic that they're pushing another piece of legislative where it bans anything that they want. So this idea of like if you allow TikTok ban, now this sets a precedence, and now they can say, and I think they actually mentioned like other social media platforms like Facebook. So if you're Mark Zuckerberg right now, you might be a little bit like, oh shit, like if we don't comply with whatever they got going on. So I think that's actually like to me another interesting offshoot
Yeah.
where it's like, ooh, you got TikTok off, but now hey Google, we don't really like how you use our search history. Stop doing that or you're banned too. So I don't know. It'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But that to me was like
Yeah.
my more bigger interesting concern. I think this is literally nothing. Like nothing's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Even
And
if
that
it's
reminds
banned,
me,
it's
yeah.
probably comical.
Yeah, that actually, so a third topic we talked about, because you mentioned Meta, is like Meta's head of like policy and like I think like political affairs or national, whatever, like how they deal with like other countries essentially. Nick Clegg has been like saying a lot of crap about TikTok lately. I want to talk about that at some point because I think that's rich. But
Yeah.
what I just thought, it's like I think if this ban is upheld in Montana, I don't even know, I'm terrible at geography when it comes to the Midwest, but just trying to figure out all the states around it. If I was like Starbucks, I would just open up a bunch of Starbuckses like right on the border of the entire state and create like TikTok cafes, make like very TikTok like friendly Starbucks that have, like all kinds of really cool shit in it that you could like take pictures and videos in front of, like crazy special
Yeah.
drinks, and do like the band special. It would get, or even like Starbucks, like if I was like a local coffee shop, right, try to get a lot of PR, a lot of press, I would go hard on that and do like the coolest like TikToker coffee shop with crazy drinks and
I
just
like
put them
meetups.
literally like 5 feet over the border, as close as you can get to the border. So you can just drive over, download TikTok on your phone, do whatever you want, drive back. But even that, like, I wonder, like, is it so? Like, let's say I'm driving through the state. I'm not a Montana resident. I don't live there. I'm driving through the state. Do I have to remove the app from my phone to enter this? Like, there's so many weird things
Yeah.
logistically that, like, there's just no. This is, like you said, it's like a nothing burger. Like, there's no feasible way logistically that this can be tracked, enforced, or anything. It's going to be challenged left, right, and center. It's a First Amendment issue. I think it sets, like, the other crazy thing that you said is it sets such a crazy precedent where all of a sudden what ends up happening is you have, states that are more conservative, states that are more liberal, just now like, okay, we think, Elon Musk is pushing too far to the right on Twitter. You have California, New York, all these states that are more left leaning. Like, we need to ban Twitter because we hate what Elon Musk is doing. And then you have states that are more on the right. You have like Florida saying, that liberal, Zuckerberg or liberal YouTube or whatever it is, like, we're going to ban you. And it just becomes like, it's so anti-American. It's like, and that's what's really weird and ironic. We talked about this a few weeks ago when we did the federal, like, kind of the Restrict Act and the federal law. It's like this whole thing started because we don't like China, right? Like, our government, like, China's an enemy because of how they run their country. And our answer to that is, let's start these draconian measures that, like, we just start banning companies, banning apps, censoring stuff. Like, it's so wild that anybody thinks that, like, can't see how hypocritical this is and how crazy this is, that we're literally doing the exact same thing that another country is doing. And that's the reason we're even doing these things, is because we don't like the way that they do things. It's like, I, I think it just, we need to go back to our roots, which is just like free market, free speech. Let people, we're all adults. We're all grown-ups here. Let people make their own decisions, right? If you think that TikTok is spying on you, don't use TikTok. Don't, even better yet, if you think anybody's spying on you, take this device, take your Amazon Echo, take your Dot, take your Google Hub, whatever, all that stuff, throw it in a landfill and go live in the woods somewhere, right? Because it's like everything in your house, if you're listening to this show right now, like, literally there's probably 25 things within listening distance of you that are tracking you somehow. Like, I had this
Yeah.
Whoop band. Like, we literally wear all. Like, there's tens of millions of people in the country that wear Apple Watches. Like, you're wearing a device on your wrist that is in real time tracking your heart rate, your biometrics. It's like, and even Apple's getting some heat for this because some of the patents are filing of, like, how they're going to use your health data and stuff. Like, all these big tech companies are tracking, just, and their government, ridiculous amounts of data, and we don't have a problem with it until we do. And it's very selective. And it's like, just don't use it. Just get rid of what you don't like. Use what you want to use, but give us the choice to do those things.
I think one thing that was kind of funny to me was that one of the things in the Montana ban was that it's about if you do business or transactions with people who are deemed as an adversary of the government or whatever of our country, which is obviously China. I just thought it was hilarious because I'm like, so Apple then, like, you're what I mean? Like, how would you selectively go about that then? If you're like ban TikTok for doing business in China, it was like, well, fucking ban Walmart, I guess, or ban, Apple, the device itself. I just thought it was funny how, like, these things are like loosely written and pushed, and maybe they don't understand tech, or maybe they do understand. Maybe obviously there might be like secondary nefarious things going on where it's like, let's just tank the stock. I bought here, I'm gonna buy here, make a cool $1 million. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, the news cycle's fast. They'll forget about it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's interesting. Speaking of the news cycle, it's like, it's interesting to me how not even like a month ago, a lot of people on Twitter were like, this is guaranteed. They were so much like confidence from people that this is guaranteed after, especially the congressional hearing with TikTok CEO, that TikTok's banned. They're like, there's no way it doesn't get banned. It's a sure thing. It's a layup. It's guaranteed. And now it's like, there's not a single tweet about it anymore. It's all of a sudden people stop talking about it. And that's what I was trying to say back then. I was telling people, it's like, listen, when you're in these news cycles and when you're in it, when you're in the thick of it, the peak of the news cycle, it seems like this is like, it's inevitable because this is all people are talking about. But guess what happens? A day later, there's a war, then there's a stock crash, then there's some type of crazy thing that happens in the economy, then there's this like people forget really fast. People stop caring really fast. It went from everybody was super concerned that China is stealing all of our data to no, we're moving on to this thing over here and then this thing over here. And again, not to say that it's not possible, not to say that it's gone away completely. Obviously, there's still bills and still the restrict acts getting amendments and stuff, but like people lose energy pretty fast. People like it's hard to stick behind a cause for a prolonged period of time and keep the public sentiment high. And I think once you lose that, once you lose like the public being behind something, it becomes really hard to push things through. And the media turned on, like everyone turned on it once they read the Restrict Act. And that's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how you go back from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole process is a little bit funny. I honestly, it sounds super fucked up, but I don't care. Like I have folders on every social platform that I'm on, and in it I have it's called LOL follow-ups. And it's usually just people betting against me or saying shit that I literally once a year go back and check and then I just the petty side of me just leaves a comment like, "Hey, what happened to that?" I do it like I did it to this one guy. It's so funny. Like we became friends through it. I think like 4 years ago, he said the same thing. TikTok was going to get banned like in 2019. And every once a year, I write a comment on that same post. I don't even know why he has it public still. I probably would remove it, but I'm just like, LOL, another year. And then he'll just respond back and like, I know, damn, got to delete this, but he never does. But yeah, it's funny, like the sentiment on Twitter and everything. Some guy, I won't say his name for the sake of the podcast, but like he just is so weird. Every time I write something, he would just respond, "It's gonna get banned." I'm just like, all right, dude. Like I'm not like actually, I don't have equity in this company, but yeah, it's funny. All those people just kind of died out, and now they're not interesting, and now they're talking about Twitter or ChatGPT or OpenAI and stuff like that. But yeah, at least going back to the original thing, Montana, I don't, it's not going to happen. And if it happens, it's just nothing's going to happen. Like there's no way to enforce this thing because it just doesn't logistically make sense. And like you said, a lot of little things if I fly over Montana, and I'm on TikTok that I just like violate
Break the
some
law.
law, yeah. Or if I'm, like you said, driving through or whatever it might be, it's just so weird. How do you track it? How do you measure it? How do you evaluate like, penalties? Like if I'm on it all day long versus someone who just accidentally opened the link, the app by accident, like are we both going to be prosecuted at the same level? So yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen here, but I don't know. It's interesting. Makes them look a little certain way in the media and maybe gets them a quick little sound bite
Yeah.
for,
And that's what's
midterm elections or
interesting.
whatever. And then move on.
Yeah. Like the, just kind of building off that, this Meta story. So it's like a Fortune article. The headline was like Meta's Nick Clegg takes harsh tone on Beijing as momentum builds for a full TikTok ban. China has already taken a very different path. And it goes in and saying like it's a question of values and fairness and all this stuff. And I think it's interesting, like, a lot of people have been kind of talking the back doors of like this being a big push by Meta, like in the back channels with our government to like get TikTok banned because it's a threat. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, that's a conspiracy theorist. Like there's no way that's the case. And I think there's just more and more evidence that they're clearly doing that. Right, everything from obviously the PR, the now public story that they hire PR companies over the last few years to plant stories about TikTok. That's come out. That's actually happened. Meta used money to pay PR companies to basically slander TikTok because they're afraid of them. And then you have basically, Nick Clegg out here who was a politician, right? So he's a British politician who now is running Meta's department that whole department, essentially all they do is work with other governments. So it's like a private public co-op thing. And so you of course have him out there now, like just doing PR, doing media interviews, sure, talking to congressmen, talking to senators, like saying, hey, this, you need to ban this. Here's why, I'm sure sharing all kinds of stories and data and stuff. I just think it's like, it's rich, right? It's like, you got to have some real balls to be like, to be Meta and to be talking about values and privacy and data. Like, again, like if it's the CEO of a decentralized social network, like Minds or one of these companies that's like not super big, but like they're built on the foundation of privacy and owning your own data and like all that stuff. Like, cool. You believe in that. It's your values. But it's like when you're one of, if not the biggest exploiter of data for like over a decade, and you've been in scandal after scandal from Cambridge Analytica to like now being fined in the EU of all kinds of stuff, and then you're coming out saying like, we just have different values. TikTok's values or don't align with ours. Like, no, this is probably the best thing that's happened to Meta because they can just deflect. Like nobody's really focusing on them anymore. Everything's TikTok. It's
Yeah.
all the
Yep.
negative stigmas TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And I don't think it just happened to just out of nowhere. I think Meta definitely had some serious lobbying and some serious sway in fanning that and pushing everyone's attention from the media to politics onto TikTok under the guise of this being a national security threat. That's the only thing that separates Meta and TikTok is which country they were founded in, right? Like that's or they're owned by. So it's like that's literally a difference. Like Mark Zuckerberg, Harvard made Meta, TikToks from ByteDance in China, right? It's like that's the only difference. At the end of the day, both companies operate the exact same way. Both companies are in the business of getting eyeballs. Both companies are in the business of selling data and mining lots of data, and that's what they do.
Yeah, I thought it was ironic. It's same thing too when people talk about it like on social about like privacy and threats. I'm just like, there's only one company that's ever been, found for, and I list out all these atrocious things that Meta have done. I'm just like, it's not. They're not the good. I just. I'm not against Meta. I'm not against Mark.
Yeah,
I like everything they built. But, objectively speaking, like, they've done some pretty terrible, egregious things. And then also, like you said, being kind of like a hypocrite about it, or, in a way, just feeling like, dude, really? You're talking about privacy and data? Like, you're the guy who's going to be the champion of privacy and data? Like, when Elon Musk says it, at least for me personally, I believe it a little bit more because I'm just like, oh, yeah, historically, his track record, checks out. But, Mark Zuckerberg is an example. When he was trying to get into China, he started learning Chinese, was doing all his interviews over there in Chinese, and said that he would name his like first son or baby or whatever after like some like Chinese official word. I'm like, dude, really? Like,
hmm
really? You're the guy who has America's best interest at play, and you're gonna name your fucking kid like after whoever that politician was or whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
It's super funny to me. It's just so ironic. Sometimes I just feel like we're living in this simulation thing where it's like the worst case comical scenario possible.
yeah.
Like you said, like you're in charge of this, and now you're working for who? All
Yeah,
right,
and that's
that
just one
seems
person. It's all our big tech companies from Apple to Alphabet to Meta all hire extensively from government because it gives them ins, right? So there's a ton of people
yeah,
working and they were even at Twitter before Elon purged everybody. There were a lot of ex FBI officials, CIA officials, NSA officials, you know, uh, executive branch officials, like a lot of people that were working there. And that's the game, right? It's like you work in public sector, you get the influence, then you sacrifice pay, and then you go work for these private companies, you get the big payday, but you're not really good at anything. The reason you're getting paid those big checks is because you're connected. Because you can, when you need to sway things, you have people you can call in government and get help. Oh, hey, they're thinking about blocking this acquisition. You need to make few phone calls, make sure this acquisition goes through. Like, it's not, you know, maybe like a few decades ago, people used to not be able to see this stuff, but like now social media and just how independent journal, all this stuff, like everyone knows how the game's played. Everyone knows the game is rigged. Everyone knows like how public and private sector works together. And yeah, it's like the whole meta thing is like it's funny. It's like literally it would be like, Charles Manson, calling out Jeffrey Dahmer. It's like, hey, this guy, like this guy's real bad. Like I just murder people, but this guy's like eating people. Like it's like, what are
yeah.
you talking about? You're both monsters. Like it's just wild to pretend like you're the good guy in this story.
I think even worse is like when they take somebody, they pump money into them, help them get elected or help them get into positions of power in government. They do little, favors or whatever, and then they rehire them back from like you
Oh yeah,
literally just like grew something. You know what I mean? Like you infiltrated from the ground up. Like that to me is even more egregious and it's pretty easy to track. Just look at campaign donations or just like, oh dude, what? Like
it's very bad. Yeah, it's
YouTube was a donator. And then he was the one who was like on the board for whatever it might be, server costs or something, or like what was there was a thing, it was like 5 6 years ago. It was almost like another threat to like the Freedom Act or something like that for online. I can't remember what it was, but the guy kind of got exposed where it's like, dude, all these companies are the ones who paid you, and you push the bill like 2 days after you got a payment. Like, what are you talking about right now? Why are you even talking? Period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And like we'll go back to the pulsing after this next story, but yeah, it's like the most egregious example, and this isn't a tech example, is like the whole like Purdue Pharma with like Oxycontin and stuff. It's like the guy at the FDA, and it's only one person who did this. The guy at the FDA who basically signed off on them not having to put certain labels saying how addictive the medication was.
Hmm.
Guess where he went after FDA? He went to Purdue Pharma and got a huge paycheck. It's like that happens across the board in all forms of government, and in all private companies, not just tech. So yeah, it's egregious. It's terrible. I think most people are starting to see through this now, and yeah, I think there's a lot more resistance to the ban than there was. Now there's more politicians. You have Rand Paul, you have AOC, you have people on both sides basically coming out and saying like, whatever I think about TikTok, that's irrelevant. It's about precedent and,
Hmm.
what this is going to do going forward, when somebody else is in power, because they can use this as precedent to say, I want to ban this or ban that. So I'm interested to see how it keeps playing out. We'll see if any other states try to do it. So far, it looks like really just Montana is the champion. Not much to do, I guess, there. I apologize. Anybody that's listening that is in Montana, I apologize for trash talking your state. You can come to Florida. Florida's pretty awesome. We'll take you in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'd be a little bit more scared if I was Montana, not so much for the TikTok, but like, what else are they going to try to
Yeah,
do? Because I
exactly.
mean, actually, we didn't even bring. I don't know if we did bring it up or not, but um, Utah just banned, we'll say, adult content from
The
being able to
biggest adult
see.
content site.
Yeah, well, I guess we should say Pornhub.
Yeah.
You know, basically is blocked out of the state, but it's not doing anything. Like everybody, like if you go look up on Google search trends, it's skyrocketed of like how to access these sites. And the obvious answer is just a VPN that's built into phones now, that's built into web browsers. Like no real thing is needed. But it's comical to me, but it's also scary because it's like, one, comical, they can't even enforce it. They don't even know how to do it. And then scary because maybe you don't want TikTok, but then the next day you're like, oh shit, this is now gone. Oh, this is gone now. Like, it's actually pretty terrifying. One of the things that I thought was interesting from this adult content ban was there's a lot of people. I want to tread lightly here, so I'm not disrespectful, but also not too egregious. But they're into certain adult things that you can't really see or learn about or experience, or even just like how to do things safely. And so they kind of rely on these more adult websites. And if these are taken down, there's a lot of people that are incredibly concerned about, like, it's restricting my freedom to even just be able to learn or to watch or to understand myself better, or what these things are. There's a few I seen, like, therapists and psychologists that were talking about, like, there's people that are into or interested in things that consenting adults are consenting to, that they have to be educated on and learn, and it's not their fault. It's like trauma from childhood or abuse, or stuff like that. So there's a lot of little things like that, at least in this, like, adult content ban, that I think can really easily be translated over to TikTok or whatever it might be. Hey, we
Yeah.
don't like gambling anymore, and you're just like, dude, I just want to play my stupid blackjack game. It's not real money. It doesn't matter. Gambling's addicting, which it is. Whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think, and this, we can wrap on this, but like, I think if history's proven anything, it's that, and this example, the Pornhub ban is a perfect example. It's like when you ban things and when you make things hard to get, it dramatically increases the desire for people to want those things just by the fact of banning them, right? That's why when you have like, when you have high school kids, they are sneaking around trying to drink everywhere because they think it's cool because they can't drink until they're 21, right? So it's like, oh, it's cool. It's hard to do. It's forbidden. Like it's dangerous. It's risky. All those elements push people to want to do things. Like the war on drugs. Like it makes things more dangerous. It costs a ton of money to enforce. Its enforcement's totally ineffective, and it makes things more dangerous. People have to seek it out. So I think you'll see the same thing where it's just like, The irony is the more you ban something, the more people are like, well, why are you banning it? I'm more curious now. You get more people more interested, and they'll find ways. People are ingenious when they want something. They'll figure out ways to get access to stuff.
Yeah, I knew somebody in high school, no, junior high to high school. She wasn't allowed to talk to any boys at all, like not even in class. But she would just be like curious, just to be like, there's all these other types of humans around. I remember in the middle of high school, she just left, and we didn't know what happened. And she got a boyfriend. Like maybe this is kind of a weird example, but like she just was so curious about things. So she got hooked on drugs. She ran away. I think she got like pregnant, like just a lot of crazy things for like a 15-year-old to go through. I remember just even at 15 thinking like, dude, you didn't even let your kid like talk. Like I remember in class, she had to be segregated. It wasn't for like any like religious reason. It was just like
That's wild.
not allowed. And then like, me growing up and looking, I'm like, oh my God, like she just,
Yeah, that
almost had
backfired.
like her own version of like Rumspringer, like the Amish. You know what I mean? She's like, I'm gonna do everything. So in that same sense, again, maybe a weird example, but in that same sense, like, why is TikTok banned? What is this TikTok thing? Let me go
Yeah,
check it out. Let me go download it. It's
especially
it's
for
also like
kids,
the
it just makes it
rebellious.
cooler.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's a big thing
exactly.
anyway. They want it more. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's not going to end well. Anyway, it happens. So we'll be interested to see what happens there. We can wrap on the last slide. It's probably not a long topic, but just the kind of an update level. So the TikTok Pulse program rolled out, I think, a year plus ago, and the idea was basically like, let's help the top creators make more money, give them a bigger rev share on ads running basically before or after their content. So I think it was top 4% of creators, and then it was mainly like big advertisers get access to that. So it's a very selective program. Now they're kind of continuing to expand that. They're adding in other big publishers like media companies that can monetize. We talked beforehand, like curious, I think we're both in agreement on like what we think about this. I, I think I don't know I haven't heard the numbers of how like effective it's been for this, first 4% of creators in terms of like income and how much they made off it and how like the results for advertisers, it's been noticeably better. It just, the format of TikTok and how it works, it's like the net benefit of having content play before or after somebody else's full screen video, just like to me doesn't seem like that much of a net benefit, right? Because just like randomly by chance in the algorithm, like on the For You page, like there's probably times where like your video shows after like a big influencer and like a big celebrity, but it's like, does that mean does your video perform better? Like this is anecdotal. I don't have data on this, but like I would assume it's like not really because there's no correlation. It's not like the celebrity picked your video to be there, so they're like endorsing it. That'd be one thing. But yeah, it seems like they're putting a big effort into it. I just don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think it's going to have like a big impact on anybody.
I think it's why they're also starting to create and push this organic thing called Creator Series.
Yeah.
I think looking at it from a big picture play of like this builds the habit of this, that builds the interest of that. So I think like I think this could go well if the creator series thing works well, where people are more interested in being like, oh, I want to see longer form videos of this, and I want to come back for part one, part two, part three. The creator series to me in this whole campaign just reminds me of Snapchat. It's essentially what Snapchat did. They have Snapchat shows, which is, I guess, in my opinion, kind of like a creator series version of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know what creator series is, it's like this ability to create a series, almost like think of it as like a season for a TV show, and it could be up to 20-minute videos. And I can't remember how many videos can be, like 80 or
80.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the idea is like long form, multi micro series, I guess you could say. Similar to Snapchat, they have Snapchat shows, and in between Snapchat shows, they insert an ad. Usually the ad's pretty well targeted. It's not perfect. Like if you're watching something about, I don't know, like babies who lift a bunch of weights at the gym or something like that. Like they're not going to show you like protein shakes for kids. It's just going to be something very generalized, like, oh hey, here's like a healthy habit tracking app or something like that. I think if TikTok can do it in that way, I think they'll have a really, really good shot in a sense. I think one thing that TikTok's struggling with, if I'm being completely honest, is that everybody's trying to emulate them. And so whatever they do, it just instantly gets copy pasted. And it's my personal opinion that this year, I feel like they're doing more things where they're stepping into other people's territories before they could step in theirs. So I think with this, I think it kind of eats that Snapchat a little bit. I think the Premier program or whatever getting paid more. I think like kind of is like a little bit towards YouTube Shorts and YouTube being like, hey, no, you stay here, we'll take care of you. I think the thing that's the most interesting to me though is that new thing that came out where you can like earn a commission for products that you link in your actual post itself. Where like before you would have to go to whatever the brand is, set up an affiliate deal, set up the account, set up all that like shit that you have to deal with, or even just Amazon. Like getting into the Amazon affiliate program, it's not hard, but it's not exactly easy. And even when you do, it's like, how do you technically link someone to your storefront to get affiliate commission? Like it's kind of tricky. But
Yeah.
in TikTok, they have that new thing where if you're in TikTok shop, just say, hey, anybody can become an affiliate. I'll give you 20%. If I'm an influencer, how easy is that to just scroll through and just be like, oh, I got this, I don't know, I got this remote. I can sell this shit right now and I'll make how much? $20. Fire up a video. Guys, this remote right here is the best thing. Check your check your TikTok, account later on. You made $300. You're like, cool, dope. I don't have to do anything. I think that is like more of an attack on Amazon, but also I think that is more, in my opinion, more of a viable like money source. And I'm sure you wouldn't care. Like, dude, I'll give 30% to anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just how we move product. I don't even have to
Yeah.
talk to them. Like they'll do it all and they'll facilitate. But yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. I think the that's something that like most of the big social networks have slept on, and it's like a huge opportunity is a deep integration with affiliate marketing, because that's the holy grail, right? It's like and like a lot of brands want to work with influencers, and it's a very cumbersome process. A lot of influencers want brand deals, but like a lot of creators like don't even know what affiliate marketing is. Like most, like
Mm-hmm.
we take it for granted because it's like I have a whole agency that's what they do. So like performance marketing is so second nature to me. But for a lot of people, they don't even know that like there's a whole industry out there where I can go promote products and get paid a percent of sales or get paid a dollar amount per sale. Like that's just foreign to them. So if you can bring that, if TikTok or Instagram, whoever ends up doing it, like really make that a integral part of the platform, or anybody on the platform could literally promote any product and just tag it and not even having to promote it. Like that's the other cool thing. It's like you can literally just be doing a video, you're holding a Rode, wireless mic, and it's just in there. Like it's a link in the post. So it's like you can buy things from the video, because people ask all the time. Even like today we were on our accelerator call, right? And like Maya in the group was asking like, what's your like tech setup in your office like? So people want to know these things are just when they're watching the video. So they're even just curious. So you get people that are watching your videos, they might not even ask, but they're just like, I've always wondered what hat he's wearing. I've always wondered what like device he's using for this. Like those are just no brainers. Again, like Melon, reach out to me, hit me up, man. Cause I have every one of your hats, but like Melon, it's a no brainer. It's like, TikTok, how many TikTokers do you, and just not big celebrities, but like just regular people like wear Melon hats in their TikTok videos. Like that would be such a low hanging fruit thing for, and this is where like, this is going down a whole rabbit hole here of like, just, we're now giving free ideas to TikTok people, but like using AI and better image recognition. This is where I think we're going. I think maybe 2 years, 3 years, we're here where the image recognition AI is good enough that it can actually recognize things like that. Like it can recognize that I'm wearing a melon hat in my videos and just auto recommend it. So it's like, hey, I noticed in your video you're wearing a melon hat. Do you want to make 10% on anybody that buys a melon hat through your ad? If so, just click yes. Auto opt in, all this stuff, does the 1099, does everything, and Melon can just be on the other side of it. And it's like Melon now on TikTok says, hey, this person is wearing a hat in your video. Do you want to set up, or just set up a setting saying, hey, we have this program, this beta program for any apparel company. We have image recognition tech that can tag your product. You can basically set it up so anybody that we tag, you can auto approve. Like that would be pretty game changing. I think there's
Funny
so
that
much cool shit you can do there.
I'm gonna show my phone real quick. I seen this on Amazon right before our call. My girlfriend just got like an iPad and she was talking about the
Yeah,
pencil. We went to Best Buy and I was like, yo, it's like $300 for a damn pencil. I don't want this shit. But I just
crazy.
seen that on TikTok, watched half of it. I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. It's actually on sale right now. I wonder if it was because of this TikTok. It was like $12, but I purchased it. I literally bought it. she they're not getting anything. I went to their bio, they didn't have it set up, etc. But if it was like that, I would have just hit TikTok Shop, bought it, especially if it's like third party partner with like Amazon. Like imagine if you could attach the post in the TikTok, you click it, it's the Amazon checkout and everything like that. I just check out and I got what I wanted. I
Yep.
supported my favorite creator. The brand is like, dude, we just moved like 2,000 units yesterday from some stupid random TikTok buyer. We don't even know who it is. Like, but we just paid them, $500 commission. I think that's more exciting. I think it actually makes a lot more sense for a lot of the creators. And I think it also takes off a lot of what can I say? A lot of pressure for like TikTok to be like, why don't we get paid? We're the creators, pay us. They have to rely on advertisers. I think this is really interesting where it's like, we'll pay you like how YouTube does, but we're going to actually give you the ability to make money and partner with brands. And you don't have to do anything. No
Hmm.
negotiating, no press kit, no back and forth emails about like, you do it. I'm sure you do this to some extent of like, hey, you got to reshoot this thing. It didn't work.
Yep.
Like that's annoying, like that's a lot of work for both parties. This is just, hey, I'm in electronics. Cool. Let me just do that one today. I would imagine, with the advancements of AI right now, generative AI, I'm kind of debating on just making a little AI account and just pumping, like these little top 5 things you got to buy and just having it as a shopping cart and be like, yeah, dude, I just made like $1,000 yesterday, and it's just an AI script that's written out and voiced and all these things for me. So yeah, I think that's a little bit, to me, a little bit more exciting than the Premier program thing. It's still cool, I think it's still a great thing, but I just feel like this is going to be a little bit more of like the more popular, widely adopted
I
step
agree.
or angle versus the other thing. So
I need to text
it'll
my
be
buddy
fun.
Brian. My buddy Brian, who was my first rep at the company, we I'd say close to a bunch of people that were early on, like people that I worked with at TikTok, who are like now different departments and stuff. And we always shoot the shit, and I share ideas with them. And he's working in a department that actually maybe could do something with this. I'm gonna like, dude, you need to do this. Just give me some credit and just let me know. Let me get first access to it on the affiliate side because I think that's like a game changer. But the last thing I'll say is on the Premiere thing, what they should do, and you mentioned this when you're talking about series, is give advertisers, all advertisers, the ability to target not just series playlists but all playlists because they're all titled and tagged, and so it's like that's where it gets more interesting. That's why I think you could pay a higher premium as an advertiser and the creator could make more money. It's like if I have a cooking playlist, I'm a cooking creator on TikTok, and I have a playlist that's showing me how I make my French onion soup, right? And it's like a 6 video series. If I could run an ad that runs in that series, so you're watching your 2 videos in, now you swipe up, the third video is an ad for a really cool, crock pot or something, or a really cool, like really specific, like this is a, type of cheese that you put on your soup. Like that's where it gets really interesting is integrating with playlists. And because it's like people are watching your playlist for a specific thing and the ad can be really congruent to that. And that's where like it adds value instead of just being like, I just happen to be an ad after your regular video on the For You page. I'm an ad inside of a playlist where I'm like actively wanting to finish the playlist because I'm trying to learn something specifically.
I think one thing too that people, I think, who aren't really about TikTok. Like they're not really in it. I don't think they understand how much culture and community is built there. Where if you look at like Keith Lee, he's the guy who does like these food reviews. Like I think they just posted something where it showed how much money Chipotle made by just doing a deal with him. Like I think their sales like doubled or something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're moving 50,000 burritos a minute or something, like that's kind of a lot.
Yeah, that's
But
wild.
there's a lot of people, including myself, who probably would have just bought a gift card from Chipotle or ordered Chipotle that day if it was in his post and he was saying like, "Hey, this is my thing. Can you all
Yeah.
support me so I can help?" Like, I don't think people really recognize this unique power that TikTok has. I mean, I see sometimes like a Twitter thread of like, "Oh my god, they raised money for this guy. How amazing!" I'm like, dude, that happens like 100 times a day. Like, it's not really, not to discredit what they were thinking or saying, but I'm like, that's not like that exciting. Like, that's like just
Yeah, it's
like a
not super
norm,
unique.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so if they can do it in this way where you can support via like directly paying for something or supporting or being a part of or mentioning or whatever that thing is, yeah, I think it's pretty damn powerful. So we'll see how it turns out. I think this will be more of a hit, and I'm sure Adam Mosseri is like frothing at the mouth of like, how do I copy paste this so I can? Yeah, I don't know how that guy has a job at this point. Like now, I don't know if I'm gonna go on a little quick Instagram rant. now you can add music to your post. Where I'm like, oh, what a coincidence! Right when TikTok released photos like carousels with music, now all of a sudden Instagram's like, we want to support the creators. We love you guys. I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, shut up. Just stop. Like,
Hey, just be
he's
honest.
yeah, like it's just I don't know. It reminds me, and this is even like an Instagram thing. It's the exact same thing that Meta did when they were trying to build an Instagram. They just copy pasted whatever Snapchat did. It's the
Yep.
same playbook. It's just to me, it's just I don't know. I like Meta. Obviously, like I'm on their products. I use it often. It's helped me, numerous ways more than TikTok. But at the same time, it just feels lame. I'm just like you guys are just it's just a copy paste. That's all your platform is, and the things that are original, they just mega flop. So, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, my point of that is, I think it's a really good idea. I'm sure the other companies are gonna like emulate that or replicate that as much as possible, as quick as possible, because I'm sure if we're having these thoughts. I'm pretty sure they've already known this was coming a month or
I'm
two ago.
sure.
And like, yo, build, hurry up! we
Yep.
gotta, we gotta ship.
I agree. Awesome, guys. So on that note, we'll wrap it for the day because I'm sure Michael and I, we can just like shoot the shit and rant for forever. We're at the 40-minute mark, so we'll call it a day on this one. As always, appreciate your guys' support, listening. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff depending on where you're watching it, and we will see you next week with a new episode of Talk News. Thanks, guys.